Well, thank you for the nice introduction. It's lovely to be here in Boston. I'm Angela Geels, Senior Director of Client Partnerships at Ibotta. I'm honored to be here with Chang Lee, Vice President of Next Generation Beverages and OmniChannel Marketing at Ocean Spray. Chang is no noob to brand innovators, and so probably a face that is familiar to many of you, but certainly bringing a fresh perspective to all things marketing and innovation. So Chang, thank you for taking the time to talk with me, all of us, about fostering authentic engagement with fans and audiences.
Hey guys, it's really good to be here.
So we will carve out time at the end. Please just hold your questions until then. Jot them down so you don't forget them. Chang, when we think about innovation, so often we think about something new, an introduction of sorts. But innovation comes in so many different forms. For an iconic brand like Ocean Spray, such a big household name, what does innovation look like?
I love that question because it is true. Even at Ocean Spray, when we talk about innovation, we're usually talking about new products. But Ocean Spray has been around for almost 100 years, both the brand and the company. And we want to be around for another 100 plus, right? And so innovation has to take a lot of different forms, not just new products, because we are constantly having to figure out how we can attract and resonate with a new generation of consumers. So for us, it's really about always kind of reinterrogating, what our consumers want, how are we reaching them, how are we engaging them, and we take those learnings and then we think about how we apply those in terms of packaging graphics, how we show up on shelf, in terms of our communication, how we're actually talking to people, in terms of our media, how are we reaching out to them and engaging them as well.
That's a lot of tentacles. And as I understand it, you're going through a bit of a brand transformation, which is certainly no small feat. As a marketer, how do you initially approach transforming a brand?
Yeah, so, there's really two main things that we think of that, all you guys as marketers are thinking about, right? First, you really need to know and define who your target's going to be. And I'm not just talking demographically, and that is important, but also, what are they looking for? What are their needs? What are they looking for in terms of that food or beverage? What are they looking for in terms of a brand? Really get to kind of know who that target is that you're going after. And then you also really need to understand who your brand is. What is that benefit that you provide? What is that personality that you want to bring forth? What is that identity that you really want to make sure that is consistently portrayed? For Ocean Spray, as we've been going through the transformation, there were a couple of things that were real foundational for us. One was we really tapped into the spirit of our founders and our growers. So I think all of you guys know, but Ocean Spray isn't a publicly traded company. We're actually owned by 700 family farmers. We were started by 3 growers who, about 100 years ago, decided that they were going to band together to create this co-op to market their products, right, versus just having it be a commodity. So there's just a real entrepreneurial spirit. There's a maverick tendency to our growers that we wanted to make sure was embedded in our brand identity. And then we also looked at the cranberry itself. And there's a few things about the cranberry. It's bright. It's got a really bold taste. And not everybody likes it. And that's okay, right? But for us, and how that translates to our brand and our transformation, is that we wanted to be bold. We wanted to be a little bit uncommon, and we wanted to say it's okay to be a little bit offbeat because cranberries aren't for everyone. Ocean Spray, should not try to please everyone as well. And so those were some of the things that were really important for us. And hopefully your guys are seeing that as the transformation comes to life, whether it's through our advertising, our graphics, or even, the innovations and the products that we're putting out into market as well.
Well, I, for one, can certainly appreciate that. I'm a fan, so there's that. But we do all know Ocean Spray because it is such a big brand. Tell us something we might not know about the brand or why consumers are so connected with it.
Yeah, and this is where I have to get my notes because I'm going to quote a number and my memory is crap, y'all. But you know, we're talking about the Super Bowl, right? Super Bowl is coming up this week. For Ocean Spray, though, we actually talk about our Super Bowl, and our Super Bowl is November and December because the holidays are the big time of year for Ocean Spray. It's when we have our highest household penetration. You know, you think about cranberry sauce, right? I think like 80% of our sales are during that holiday time frame. And so here's the two stats that I'm going to quote. So Ocean Spray is the number 2 most have brand at Thanksgiving. We're second only to Butterball. And then 78% of households have some form of cranberry over their December celebrations. And so for us, Super Bowl actually just ended about a month ago.
Well, congratulations, you were the victor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say so.
Yeah. And I hope that the Chiefs will be the victor this coming Sunday too. Not to rub it in, I know we had conversations.
Angela and I had a prep call, and I lived in Michigan for 12 years, so I'm still mourning the Lions loss.
I was rooting for you. I was. And now I'm rooting for my Chiefs. Anyway, not to go too sidebar here, but holiday is it was your Super Bowl, and so tell us a little bit about your approach to holiday, what your objectives were, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so, you know, for holidays, we kind of said it's our Super Bowl, right? It's the time when we have the most consumption. It's also the time when, you know, we're bringing new people into the category. So from a marketing perspective, it is about attracting more households and really across all of the products that we have, whether it's our cranberry sauce, our juice, or our raisins as well. And what we really wanted to do to attract those households is to make them see that Ocean Spray is essential for all the holiday gatherings that they have during that time frame. And we really wanted to kind of lean into, you know, the power of the cranberry and Ocean Spray to transform, right? To transform your holiday from like beige and boring to bright and bold and energizing. So that was the crux of the campaign. In the past, we really relied a lot on, you know, more traditional advertising, whether it's on TV or streaming or digital or social, and then we would have in-store programs as well. This year, what we really wanted to step up was that idea of how do we really engage more consumers during this time frame. You know, we have a lot of fans out there, and so how do we kind of step up that portion of our campaign? And there's a conversation that always happens starting in November, and that is for those people who really like cranberry sauce. And you kind of see sort of these two teams come forth. There's Team Canned, who love that sauce coming straight out of the can, the jiggle and all of that. And then there's Team Homemade, who would rather take the fresh berries, create something for themselves, right? And so we really wanted to lean into that debate. And so the center of our engagement was really about Team Canned versus Team Homemade. We created merch for Team Canned, Team Homemade. If you saw them, it kind of reminds you of like those 90s like metal band t-shirts. We created surveys, you know, to really understand the extent to which people like how passionate they really felt about that, whether it's like, I won't date anyone who's a canned sauce fan or, you know, that kind of thing. So we got some really great PR from that. And then we actually went to TikTok and we used influencers. We used what we call grandfluencers. So, and then we paired them with, you know, your more typical millennial Gen Z influencers as well. So we had Team Can versus Team Homemade, and we really got that conversation going on TikTok. Also, so just super fun ways to kind of, you know, really complement a lot of what we're doing on the paid side to really get conversation and engagement going and drive that passion of the fans that we had.
I love hearing it. So bold, right?
Yeah.
True to the brand. And this is truly like marketing innovation at its finest. But for those of us that are not Gen Z and not hip with grandfluencers, could you maybe expand on what that is and then tell us why grandfluencers and influencers?
Absolutely. So there are a number of awesome older ladies who have giant followings on TikTok. And we leveraged 2 of them. There's Grandma Droniak, over 13 million followers on TikTok. She does a lot of great brand deals. She's 93 and probably could kick my butt. She's hilarious. And then there's Grandma Linja, who has like over 10 million followers on YouTube, 20 on TikTok. She actually just recently passed away. So but she was just amazing. And so we wanted to really leverage those influence because there is a tradition aspect to Thanksgiving, right? People of those generations have been hosting those traditions for a long time. They're the ones who really, really see cranberry sauce as a staple. As folks get younger, millennials are starting to host Thanksgiving now. They're not as tied to those traditions as older generations, and we really want millennials to see as they start hosting that cranberry sauce should be a staple. So that's what we wanted to do is we wanted to kind of pair a grandfluencer with your more traditional younger influencer as well to kind of bring in sort of that general aspect of it. And just like those grandfluencers are hilarious. Like if you guys can go back, I would highly look and see some of those, especially Grandma Dronia.
You're not wrong. They're hilarious. So, I mean, this is a transformation for the record books. You're touching demographics and appealing to so many different age groups here. And so there's probably no more powerful way than for us to see the hilarity. We're not maybe going to be able to hear the sound of the hilarity, but no more powerful ways to see how much this has driven for Ocean Spray.
Yeah, so we have a little bit of a compilation video to kind of show all the different things we did at the holidays. Unfortunately, the sound isn't working, so you'll miss a little bit of the music, then you'll miss a little bit of Grandma Journey at the end. But hopefully this will still give you guys a sense of what we did this holiday.
Visually, she's still hilarious, so I think you'll enjoy it.
Kind of weird seeing it quiet. So at the end, she's talking about how she dumped a boyfriend because he was not on the same cranberry team that she was.
I was wrong. It's a lot more hilarious to hear it live. So check it out. It's a can't miss, that's for sure. You've got to be so incredibly proud. I mean, not only to see the visual appeal of that and the compilation of what was accomplished by the team, but incredibly powerful results to top it all off. So that begs the question then, what's next? What's next for consumer engagement? How do you achieve this level of success outside of big campaigns like holiday?
Yeah, it's a great question, and obviously, for sort of our Super Bowl, we're gonna go out. We're gonna be very proactive about things like influencers and surveys and things like that. But there are moments that come up, right? That we have a really phenomenal team, and they are ready to jump on those. So you saw Taylor up there, right? I think it was the first Chiefs game, and everybody's like, "What the heck is she drinking?" And so we have sources that tell us that it is Ocean Spray. But the team definitely jumped on that with some social posts of our own, and then engaging with folks as well. We also have a lot of moments where we kind of say, "Is this a really great moment in which to engage?" So I'm gonna look at my notes because I forget names as well. But one of the things that we really do is we use kind of our labels as way to connect with people. So there's a great blogger and chef called Allison Roman. She's written some New York Times best-selling books and things like that. And she remarked about ocean spray, and I think she was talking about a cranberry actually, and she said something about it was like a big bag of sand. And so the team kind of went, they created a bottle of juice with sort of that label, and they sent it to her. And, she reposted it. She thought it was hilarious, right? There's a Puerto Rican rapper named Mike Towers. And one of the big things that Ocean Spray is trying to do is we're trying to appeal to more of a multicultural audience. So Mike Towers is a huge Ocean Spray fan. He has to have it in like all of his writers for concerts and things like that. And so again, my team, David, who is out here somewhere, worked to kind of figure out what is that custom packaging that we can create for him. What are some other things that we can kind of give him again that he'll then put together and share with all of his followers. And oh, by the way, maybe invite us to attend a backstage at one of his concerts when he comes to Boston. So, those are the things that we're constantly trying to kind of look out for and figure out authentic ways that we can engage as well.
So creative, certainly so authentic. This multitude of authentic approaches to engaging your consumers is clearly working. Ocean Spray has amassed an enormous fan base, and one that miraculously keeps growing, keeps evolving, not just decade after decade, but generation after generation. And that does require innovation, evolution. We're probably in the midst of an evolution right now. So maybe let's take a different point of view and look at how fans influence product innovation for Ocean Spray.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we're seeing that brands have been doing that forever, right? Like contests to kind of help you see what your next flavor is or that kind of thing. And we're always looking in our comments to kind of see what people are asking for. I think a lot of you from a juice perspective have probably heard of our blends line, right? It was just what we call like our cran grape, our cran apple, when we're pairing cranberry with another fruit. And so one of the things that we're experimenting with right now is limited time offers or seasonal offerings. And so last year we put together a new juice, which is a cran dragon fruit, which is a little bit of a less mainstream flavor. And rather than launching it the traditional way, the team decided, let's actually just put it out on Amazon. And let's see what the reaction is. And then maybe if we get really great reaction, we can use it to decide whether we're going to move forward with it, but also, use it to help us sell it in to like bigger retailers as well. And another way which is my favorite way that we actually brought this to life is Roy Wood Jr., who was a correspondent with The Daily Show, had put together a tweet a while ago talking about how cranberry's having babies with everybody. Because we have so many plans out there. And so the way the team actually rolled it out was we did a few teaser posts where you couldn't see what the label was, but we actually tagged Roy Wood Jr. and we kind of said, hey, a new cran baby is coming. We put that on Amazon. Might get sold out in 2 days. And so, for us, that was a really great sign that there's legs to this, right? And so it's now going to be rolling out in the next few months to more retailers with a much broader launch. But we are toying with the idea of, what are different ways we can bring things to market? What are different ways that we can get consumer reaction as well than just the traditional ways we have in the past?
Innovation in every form. I love to hear it. Well, what an incredible transformation journey, and it's probably one that really will never end. But thank you for taking us on the journey with you. Appreciate sharing the ins and outs of how Ocean Spray is going about fostering authentic engagement. We did promise that we would carve out some time for questions from the audience. So shall we open up the floor?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is, how far in advance do we start planning? I can tell you that we are talking about holiday right now for our next holiday. And so, that obviously it's traditional, right? It starts with the brief in terms of what the objectives are that we want to achieve. And then, we move on to, what does that mean from a media perspective, from an omni-channel perspective, from a broader full activation plan. But yeah, we are absolutely we're starting that process right now. So the question is, how do we measure business impact on that? I think for us, as we think about influencers, we're not necessarily trying to put an ROI on the overall program, but what we are looking at is, we are looking at obviously their followings, what level of reach they have. Are the folks that are following them essentially the target that we are trying to reach? And then as we look at sort of the success of programs, right, we're looking at, did our impressions meet our goal? How much did we grow? What is that sentiment also? Because there's good impressions and there's bad impressions, right? And so we're looking at a few other measures, but we're not as focused on ROI as much with sort of some of these influencer programs because it's about engagement. We think that there's longer term value than versus like sort of that short term sales lift. So the question was about the skateboard guy, Dogface, which happened in 2020. And I think most of you guys may have heard about that. I think he got billions of impressions. Unfortunately, that was before my time, so I wasn't there for that fun ride from a marketing perspective. But the lore that I've heard is that we actually jumped on it pretty quickly in terms of response. What Ocean Spray did actually, and for those of you who don't know the story, right, the reason he was actually on the skateboard is because his truck broke down, and he was trying to get to work. And so what Ocean Spray did was, actually didn't try to like overtake this trend, but kind of figured out what's the best way that we can kind of be part of the story. And so we actually bought him a truck, cranberry red, filled it with his favorite Ocean Spray, and then actually our CEO made a video where he's skateboarding down the road at our headquarters and things like that. But it's actually one of those things where it was such a powerful and viral moment that it didn't need Ocean Spray as much to come in and make it bigger. And I think Ocean Spray had to actually be very careful on how we engaged because we didn't want to make it feel inauthentic, right? So the question is, how have we used other media to help drive or influence just holiday in general or connected to the influencers?
I think just in general.
Just in general? Yeah, absolutely. So, we are, as I kind of talked about with our transformation program, we're very, very focused on, how do we attract that next generation of consumers? Ocean Spray does tend to skew older, does tend to skew less diverse than sort of the general population of the category. So that's something that we're working to address. And so, everything from our creative to our media, we're really looking at what are those channels that we can use to reach that generation. So, you'll see we're leaning more, as everyone is, towards that digital social space. Streaming is really big for us. We're leaning into social. And it also depends on the objectives of the brand, right? So for holiday, it's a broader household penetration objective. We just launched a zero sugar juice as well. We're going to use media very differently for that than we would if it's like a broader penetration play for the brand, right? So for zero sugar, we may be more targeted in terms of the media that we use. We may look to, things like purchase-based targeting and other things because we know that that's more of a specific audience. And so it really depends on the objective that we want for the particular campaign. So the question is there a strategy to lean into music more? Yeah, it's a great question. I think the Mike Towers piece, for us, there were two things about it, right? One, it really fit with our strategy, which was really to go more multicultural, and two, to really engage with someone who's a true fan of the brand, right? So any endorsement is going to be super authentic because is something he grew up with. He can really speak authentically to it. At this point, we don't really have a specific strategy to go after music. I think that's something though that we're going to continue to look at, and as we think about our consumers, as we think about our fans, if we think that there's an opportunity to really leverage that to really engage with the consumer we're going after, I think it'd be really fun for us to do. It's a great question, and we're doing it where we can, right? So and we're definitely leaning into retail media networks. In some cases, it's kind of saying, where are our priority accounts, and does it make sense for us to lean into like a Walmart, a Kroger, and that kind of thing, where we can use purchase-based media to target. We absolutely are. But then also, if we can't, right, we'll look at it strategically and say, is this a must-win customer or account for us? And then we'll try to figure out what the right investment level and decision is. I think also there's a lot of ways into those accounts, whether we can get that purchase-based media or not, right? Like retailer paid search is still really important for us. And then sometimes we don't necessarily go straight into those retail media networks, but we might look at partners who have who can help us with that data, who can also reach those customers as well. And I know some of those are here, sitting right next to me. So,
Okay, I think we're all set. Cheng, thank you again for being so authentic with us. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the audience for your questions. And what's up next?
all right, thank you, everybody.